Welcome, 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 and thank you for spending some of your time with us. My name is Tina Rosenquist, and this is Knowledge for Wellness. And this show is to enhance your overall understanding of information provided to you. Because when you know more, you are empowered to make better decisions, to enhance yourself and your loved ones for a better quality of life. And knowledge is power. And today's topic is on physical therapy. And bringing us this great information is Sonia McGill, a physical therapist from Courage Center in Stillwater. Welcome, Sonia.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm so delighted that you could be on Knowledge for Wellness and bring out this great information to my viewers. But before we get into that, I would really love for you to tell my viewers why this passion and why you went into this profession and your love for this job as well.
Okay. When I was younger, I was in junior high school, and we had a very dear family friend who fractured her wrist. She was elderly, she lived alone, and her name was Mrs. Thorpe. So when her cast came off, she was sent to physical therapy. And the physical therapist that she was seeing told her that if she could find someone to come along to a physical therapy visit with her, that the PT, physical therapist, would show that someone some exercises that could be done on the non-therapy days, and that would enhance Mrs. Thorpe's recovery.
Okay.
Well, she thought of me.
Oh.
So I went along to physical therapy and learned some exercises to do, and then several days of the week after school, I would walk to her house and we would do her physical therapy exercises. And I really enjoyed the opportunity to work one-on-one with Mrs. Thorpe, and I could see very real improvement and change. It was very rewarding to me to see how she was able to begin to use her hand and become more independent again.
Sure.
And then when I was in college, I decided to explore physical therapy a bit more, and I learned that physical therapists work in a wide variety of settings. We can work in hospitals, in clinics. We provide home-based care, so we see people in their homes. We work with pediatrics and adults. We can work in schools. It seemed like there was just such a wide variety of opportunities that it would be something I would never become bored with and could always stay fresh and always learn something new.
Yeah, that sounds so great. And it just seems that with the people now, as the baby boomers are getting older, there's even more of a demand for that as well. Yeah.
That's right. There's more opportunity with the aging.
Yeah. And I bet that was such a great reward for you to feel good about yourself after helping someone as well.
Right. I really appreciated getting to know someone and feel like I made a difference for her.
Yes, that's so great. I want to know about, backing up about the training that a physical therapist needs prior to, manipulating someone and having them kind of push themselves beyond the envelope, as they say, to make themselves better in the long run. So.
When I was pursuing my education, the physical therapy degree that I achieved was a master's degree. Okay. So I had a 4-year degree, a bachelor's degree in biology. The sciences are very appropriate to take into the physical therapy profession. And then my physical therapy degree, as I said, was a master's degree. Now the profession has evolved and progressed such that the students are achieving a DPT, which is Doctor of Physical Therapy.
Oh. Okay, so they've taken a step above, too.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's great. Now, you were talking about a lot of different things that you get to do. So, of course, every day you have a great challenge of different variables that you can work with. I know that the Courage Center has a pool, along with other equipment that they can go ahead and do. But what is basically the basis of your work then?
In physical therapy, we work with what we call functional mobility, and that means how we move about in our environment. We may work with people on walking. We work on transfers, and transfers is just a fancy word for how we transfer from the chair to standing up. Okay. How do we get up and down from the floor? How do we get in and out of a car? How do we negotiate on stairs? These would be ways that we have to move about our environment to live fully. Yeah. We also deal a lot with exercise. Exercise has been shown to be very beneficial in the literature. And we also know now that exercise helps to keep the mind sharp. It can help to improve balance. It can help give us a sense of well-being and has many, many positive benefits.
It sounds like your job is really entailed, but I'd like to back up and ask why a physical therapist in this specific area. I know that physical trainers can also work with people and they know a lot about the body. So if you could go into a lot of depth about why a physical therapist and how that can benefit someone as well.
Okay, a physical therapist does have a specialized knowledge of the body, how the bones and muscles work together to produce movement. And also a physical therapist is trained to understand how different conditions may impact a person's movement and how their body works. There are some disabilities that we sometimes refer to as the invisible disabilities, conditions such as arthritis or fibromyalgia, which very often are painful conditions for people. Now, sometimes when people have a lot of pain, they're afraid to begin an exercise program. They're afraid that if they exercise, they'll hurt worse or they'll produce more damage. Well, a physical therapist is trained to understand these conditions and can prescribe an exercise program for someone to do that won't produce harm, and then encourage them and educate them in terms of how they can progress in their exercise program. And we also talked about, with the aging population, fall prevention is becoming a huge and a great area for therapists to provide intervention for. A therapist can assess someone's physical condition and then prescribe a customized exercise program for them. Perhaps they need work on their balance skills. Perhaps it's a strength issue. Perhaps it's a general deconditioning problem that they need to be working on. And beyond that, a therapist also can provide some recommendations for what someone can do in their home environment. There's a lot that we can do just in our own environment to make us safer. So education would be a huge piece that a physical therapist could bring to that.
And to take the fear out of everyday life. I know my mother-in-law worried every day as she got older, if she fell down. And it sounds like you guys come to the home as well and work with them individually.
Sometimes it's very helpful to see someone in their home environment, because then it becomes much more meaningful.
Sure, and also maybe moving some furniture out of the way, so that they can go into a thinner doorway, something like that,
That's exactly right. Yes, it's surprising how much can be done, and sometimes very simple things can be done to help change the environment and make someone feel safer.
Yes, because that's basically what we did when we went over to my mother-in-law's, and she had a coffee table, and it was right around the corner. And I thought, well, it doesn't need to be on this side of the couch, so we moved it over to the other side of the couch, because she was so worried about running into it, and little things like that can really change.
Right.
And it sounds like you can help a variety of different aspects of even people that are elderly going into maybe even assisted living. It just sounds like it could actually be individualized as well.
Right, correct. No matter where the client is at physically, generally we can prescribe an exercise program to meet their needs. And it's so important. Exercise is so important. I've heard exercise referred to as vitamin X. There's also a campaign entitled Exercise is Medicine. And it's because we're learning more and more how important exercise is.
And even the endorphins, to get a positive, because people actually need to put this into their daily life. And the military actually pays them in the morning or whatever time to go and exercise, because they're finding that the sick days are less, and also fatigue. And so it makes a lot of sense to do that.
Right, and for the mental health too. We all feel better, a sense of well-being.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I know my father-in-law who had a stroke, so we also brought him to the Courage Center, and he got to go swimming. And it was so great, because he looked forward to his Wednesdays to go to the Courage Center, and you also had someone that worked with him in the pool. And I remember the first time that he was there, and we had weights put on him, and he just yelled out, "I can walk, I can walk," because of the water and how great that was that he could do that in the water, and he had a sense of accomplishment as well. But I want to talk about, specifically what kinds of conditions benefit the most from this intensive training.
From the intensive training, yes. We have, I'd like to talk about 3 conditions actually where there's research going on right now. Clients that have Parkinson's disease, clients who have had a stroke, and clients who have had spinal cord injuries. Over the past year, I've been fortunate to be involved with a program working with clients who have Parkinson's disease. And very typically, people that have Parkinson's disease, they tend to take small, kind of shuffling steps. Their posture becomes very stooped. Their world becomes smaller. Their voice becomes softer. And the program or the approach that we are using is entitled LSVT. Now that stands for Lee Silverman Voice Therapy. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about Lee Silverman Voice Treatment.
Oh, great.
Lee Silverman was a woman, and she herself had Parkinson's disease. And her primary issue was speech. Her family had a hard time understanding her, and their lament was, if only we could hear her. So it just so happened that her family was able to raise the funds to provide for research and development of the LSVT approach. And that approach is called LOUD. It's a speech program that is delivered by speech therapists. That program was developed in the late 1980s. More recently, the LSVT people have developed a program which is delivered by physical therapists, and this is called the BIG program. And it's all about encouraging big movement, big steps, and big posture. And we've had fantastic outcomes over the past year with the clients who have gone through this program. For our measures, we're using 3 tests, and I can tell you a little bit about each of those tests. The first is called the timed get up and go, and that is the amount of time it takes someone to stand up from their chair, walk 10 feet, turn around, and come back and sit down. So very, very practical, very functional.
Every life
That's what we have to do. And a second test is called the functional gait assessment. And that test takes people through a variety of drills when they are walking. One of the test items is, can you walk in a straight line while you're looking over one shoulder and then over the other? And that's something that we all have to do when we're walking. We might be visiting with somebody that we're walking with, or we might be shopping and we want to look over our shoulder at something. Another item in that test is, can you walk and step over an object? How do you negotiate on stairs? Can you turn around quickly? All things that we are doing in our normal mobility.
It's a part of daily life, yes.
That's exactly right. And then third test is a timed chair stand test. And that is the amount of time it takes someone to stand up and sit back down in a chair in 30 seconds.
So Sonia, I understand that we have a model demonstrator that's going to go ahead and show my viewers the actual chair stand.
That'll be great. We have a participant.
Yes. Okay, well, welcome on, Joe.
Thank you.
Hi, Joe. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
You can have a seat, and I will give you your instructions. I'll say 3, 2, 1, go. And then your job is to stand up from the chair and sit back down as many times in 30 seconds as you feel able. And this is to be done without using your hands. Are you ready?
Ready.
Then I'll say 3, 2, 1, go. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 is time. Very, very good, yes. Now the interpretation for this test is if someone is only able to stand up 8 times or less, that places them at a high risk category for falls. From 9 to 12 repetitions places them in a moderate risk for fall, and 13 and over is a low risk for falls. So you did a great job. You would be in the low fall risk category. Now your therapist might use this test in conjunction with some other tests, because sometimes a client's fall risk is related to balance. It may be related to a strength issue, so strengthening exercises would be indicated. It might be a flexibility issue, or it might have to do with their cardiovascular status. So you did a great job. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Joe. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And what a great example, especially a young, healthy man like that.